Welcome class, this is one of our lessons for the week. This term we're going to be writing an argumentative essay, but before we can even get into the nitty-gritty, the nuts and bolts of how to write an argument essay, we need to understand what an argument is. Unfortunately, in the modern world, the word argument isn't used correctly necessarily. When we think of an argument, we usually think of two people fighting over something, right? But that's not what an argument is. An argument is a conversation, most times, that the end goal is finding the truth. Argument doesn't necessarily care too much about how you feel and like the opinion. It looks at the facts. In an argumentative essay, we're going to be looking at, when we craft our argument, you have to have a controversial topic, right? There has to be able to be a pro and a con, a for and against side that have merit to them, meaning that they actually matter. Like saying we should send all blonde people to the moon because the world would be better. That doesn't have real merit. There's no way to argue that you could do that. You could say, like, I don't like blonde people, so goodbye, have fun on the moon. But there's not facts behind it. A lot of times when we argue, we kind of argue for the sake of argument. You've probably heard that term before, but it's true. We like to kind of get into those aggressive moments, too many of us at least, where we are able to use manipulation or other tactics and strategies to win an argument. But that's not what an argument is. An argument is a search for the truth. To have a real argument, you have to have a controversial topic. You need to make a claim or a statement that something is this way, right? And then you have to have evidence to support that. We've had countless amounts of arguments over, for example, you look at the effectiveness of a cloth mask. That is something that you could write an argument about because there are facts and there are studies that have happened that show one way or another, and both sides have facts that can support them. This is really important because a lot of times when we go to write an argumentative essay, we write an argument like the one we would have with our friends. Monday is better than Tuesday because blah, 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 and I feel this way, and that's how it is. But that's not really how it works. When we are doing persuasive writing, there are three basic persuasive methods that we use. We use logos, ethos, and pathos. You've probably heard these terms before, but we're going to dive into these again because they're really important to understand. We're going to start with pathos first. Pathos is emotions and feelings. It's when somebody makes an argument like, well, how could you do that? That's so inhumane, right? Or doesn't it make you feel bad when you do this? When somebody is trying to manipulate your emotions or appeal to the way that you feel, their argument is a pathos argument, a pathological one, right? They're trying to appeal to the emotions and the feelings inside. This is the weakest form of argumentation. It really is. There isn't a lot of times the reason they're appealing to your emotions and your feelings is because there's no facts to back it up. That's just a truth. They're trying to appeal to the side of you they know they can kind of manipulate, the human side. Well, doing this is inhumane. And instead of showing you the facts and the factors, that's what they're doing. That's not to say that there's no space in our world for pathos-based arguments. There are. It's just when you're writing an argument like you're going to be in my class, the use of pathos is manipulative and ultimately it's ineffective because you're relying on the person that you are writing for to share the same feelings as you do. Now, the next one right here, we can see at the top, is ethos. Ethos is ethics or credibility. What that means is, and this happens a lot with adults in the world and people, well, that's how it is because I said so, is an ethos argument. Or you should do this because a doctor said so. Or I'm a doctor, so do this because I'm a doctor. They use their credibility as an individual or as somebody that has a position of higher authority than you to try to tell you what is right, try to tell you how the argument should be. In some cases, this is good. When a dentist tells you you should brush 3 times a day because they're a dentist, that credibility can also pair with facts. But a lot of times when people are using an ethos argument, they also don't have facts. They're trying to tell you that you need to trust me because I am the end-all be-all of whatever this is. Like when a teacher just says, you should do this thing, and you ask why, and they say, because I'm the teacher and I told you and it's good for you. In some cases, they may be right, but they're also making a really weak argument. Again, ethos is a really weak form of argument because the credibility of the ethical credibility of an individual only matters if that credibility applies to you. If Oprah Winfrey says something, but I don't care about Oprah Winfrey, it's not going to have an effect on me. The last kind of persuasive technique is called logos. It's logic and reasoning. This is what an argument should contain. Now, just saying, an argument can contain all three of those and still be a powerful argument. They can have pathos, ethos, and logos. But logos needs to be the focus. And the reason is because it's logic and reasoning. Logos is about the facts. It's about, this is what the facts show about this kind of topic. This is what different kind of evidences show, right? It doesn't always have to necessarily be hard facts, a spreadsheet of data. It can be evidence. It can be studies. It can be a lot of if 15 people have this same experience at this same store, you can make an assumption that logically this store must have a problem with whatever they're complaining about. With logic and reasoning, we also have to have a thread of logic. A lot of times we use kind of false reasoning. We say, if A equals B and B equals C, then A equals C. And that works in math, but that doesn't always work in the real world. Because if rain is wet and the ocean is wet, rain must equal the ocean. Doesn't make sense. So the logical reasoning has to have common, sensical logic behind it, like common sense and logic behind it. There has to be a way that if you're somebody from the outside maybe reading your paper or listening to your argument, they can follow along and logically they can say, oh, that makes sense. So when we go into argument and we begin writing, you need to focus on the logic and reasoning. There's a quote that's been around for a while where somebody said that facts don't care about your feelings, and it's true. The truth is that you need to go into this looking for the facts to back up whatever claim. The topic we're going to be covering is misinformation, as it is such a rampant part of our society, and it's also really crucial to the book that you're going to be reading this term. But you can't just come in with a claim because you feel one way or because, well, I'm an expert on XYZ and that's how it is. You need to have reasons. You need to have facts. You need to have evidence to back up your claim. So going forward in this first week, I want you to start thinking about what topic you're going to write about. See, I'm going to give you an umbrella topic, the overarching topic of misinformation, but you're going to make a specific topic that you're going to write about. And what's interesting is you need to make sure that the topic is debatable, that it has the ability to be controversial, right? So, just to give you an example, we're going to watch a short little clip from the TV show Community where it's a debate, and debate is technically a form of argument. It's a little different, but I want you to kind of think about logos, ethos, and pathos as you watch this kind of video, and think about which ones they are using in their debate. So let's go ahead and get one. Let's go ahead
and as German poet Franz Wickmeyer once wrote, "Snow falls from the heavens pure. We cannot blame the snow for being soiled by the earth. That is good."
Just some context for those of you that don't watch Community. The debate is about whether man is good or evil, okay? And that's a pretty good topic, right? Because you can say man is good, and that is contentious for saying man is inherently evil, okay? And so this side is showing that man is good. And here comes the other side.
What? That dude gets it.
Jeff Winger will now offer a 2-minute rebuttal.
Hey, Sizzle. What are you going to sing tonight? I'm in the mood for some Sade. Okay.
In the Stanford prison experiment, 21 out of 21 students, when given absolute power, abused and tortured their fellow students. My competitor likened people to pure falling snow. I would respond, there is none righteous. No, not one. Now, I realize Mr. Simmons' quote was from the great Franz Wickmeyer. Mine was just from a simple desert handyman named Jesus.
Now, as we can see, I'll show the rest of it because there's other parts that it's only a few more like 30 seconds more. We can see starting off we have two ethical arguments, right? Ethos. They're both giving quotes from people to support their ideas, and these people are supposedly great people. One of them is a German poet, and one of them is Jesus. And so they're using people of higher power. But if you notice, when Jeff Winger, the second guy that got up to talk, started off, he brought up the Stanford prison experiment, which is a real experiment that happened. He started off with evidence, okay? And that was a good start, but the problem is that instead of following through with evidence, he brought up an ethos argument. Instead of having the logos to carry most of the argument with some supplement, right, some support from ethos or pathos, he jumps right into it. Now watch this next little montage of kind of going back and forth with power words and see if you can recognize which of the three persuasive methods are using logos, ethos, or pathos, okay?
Survival of the fittest wires an impulse to eliminate people into our hearts.
Counterpoint.
Mother Teresa, Joan of Arc,
Rebuttal.
Nuclear bombs.
nuclear families,
Abu Ghraib.
Apu from The Simpsons,
Double rejoinder.
Telemarketers.
organ donors,
Executions.
Ketchup is a vegetable.
Wow, this is a real barn burner.
Okay? Now, this is a comedy show. For those of you who haven't seen it, it is comedic. It's about a community college. But I think there's a really good representation of how arguments usually devolve in there. You know, we have some uses of facts, but if you notice the second time that the man in the wheelchair speaks the opponent, the things he says are Mother Teresa, right? He's claiming names. He's using an ethos argument. So, to understand an argumentative essay, really what you need to understand is that an argument searches for the truth. As you start writing this and as we start digging into the different parts of it, just remember that. Remember, this isn't about you winning some argument as we use the word. It's not about you being the winner. It's about you being right. It's about you finding the truth about the issue. And sometimes when we start writing an argument, we're going to start on one side, and as we do the research, as we get evidence, our views might shift a little bit, and that's okay. That's actually good, right? Too often people get stuck in their beliefs of something without any evidential kind of reasoning, and that hurts us as a society. We need to be willing to and open to the idea that we might be wrong, and that there's evidence out there that can change our mind, or that we're right and there's evidence to support it. So I want you to start thinking about a topic about misinformation, how it's used today, how it's used in any way, whether good or bad in your opinion. And I want you to start maybe thinking about where you would look to find evidence and think, is this something that's only opinion and feeling based, or is there evidence out there for it? So I'm really excited to see your arguments. I think we're going to have a really enjoyable time doing this. If you have any questions, please let me know.